Restaurant chef refuses to cook for Elon Musk. What happens next shocks the entire staff. The clamor of pans and knives echoed through the kitchen of the Grove, a renowned restaurant in the heart of San Francisco. Chef Maya Santos, a master of traditional cooking with a disdain for the tech-driven world around her, moved with her usual precision. Her staff hustled under her sharp eyes, perfecting dishes for the evening's full house. Then a hush fell over the dining room, a ripple of surprise coursing through the restaurant. At the entrance stood Elon Musk, flanked by a small security detail. The whispers began immediately, diners craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the billionaire entrepreneur. The maitre d', Victor, hurried into the kitchen, his usually composed demeanor betraying a hint of nervousness. "Chef," he said, voice low, "Elon Musk just walked in. He's requesting a table." Maya froze. For a moment, the only sound in the kitchen was the sizzle of onions caramelizing in a pan. Her expression, once calm and focused, darkened. She turned to Victor, her voice cold and deliberate. "Tell him I won't cook for him." Victor blinked, his polished professionalism momentarily slipping. "Chef, are you sure? This could—" "I said no," Maya cut him off, her tone leaving no room for debate. She grabbed a clean towel, wiped her hands, and stepped away from the counter. The staff was stunned. Maya's refusal wasn't just a rejection, it was a declaration, one that could jeopardize the reputation of the Grove. Yet she stood firm, her back straight and her jaw set. In the dining room, Elon Musk had taken a seat at a corner table. His security team positioned themselves discreetly, and he scanned the menu with an air of detachment. When Victor returned to deliver Maya's message, the tension was palpable. "Chef Santos regrets that she cannot serve you tonight," Victor said, his voice carefully neutral. Elon looked up, his expression unreadable. For a moment he said nothing, then folded the menu with deliberate slowness. "May I speak with her?" he asked calmly, setting the menu aside. Victor hesitated. In the kitchen, Maya was already bracing herself. She knew this moment would come, yet it didn't make it any easier. Behind her fiery refusal was a wound she had kept hidden for years, a wound tied to this very man, a painful reminder of the son she had lost. The restaurant buzzed with whispers, the staff caught between loyalty to their chef and the magnitude of the situation. What could compel Maya Santos, a chef known for her hospitality, to refuse a man as influential as Elon Musk? The answer lay in a tragedy that had shaped her life, and her disdain for the very world Musk represented. Maya Santos hadn't always been a chef. Once, she had dreamed of becoming an artist, sketching scenes of everyday life in her worn notebook. But life had other plans. When she was just 22, she became a single mother to Kai, her bright, curious son who turned every obstacle into an opportunity. From the moment he could walk, Kai was captivated by how things worked. By age 5, he was dismantling old appliances Maya brought home from thrift stores. By 10, he was building simple machines from scrap materials. Kai's talent didn't go unnoticed. His teachers praised his brilliance, and he earned scholarships to prestigious programs. For Maya, who worked double shifts at diners to support him, Kai's success was her greatest pride. She poured every ounce of herself into ensuring he had opportunities she never did. He became her world, her reason for enduring the long hours and aching feet. By the time Kai was 19, he was studying engineering at Stanford. His dorm room was cluttered with projects, drones, solar-powered gadgets, and notebooks filled with ideas for sustainable energy solutions. His dream was to work for Tesla, a company he idolized for its commitment to innovation. "One day, I'll be on Elon Musk's team, Mom," he'd say, his eyes sparkling with ambition. Maya's heart swelled with pride whenever Kai spoke about his future, but there was always an undercurrent of worry. She had heard stories of the tech industry's relentless pace, its disregard for the human cost of progress. Still, she pushed her doubts aside. Who was she to stand in the way of her son's dreams? Then, everything changed. Kai had been testing a prototype of Tesla's autopilot software as part of an internship when the accident happened. It was supposed to be a routine drive, a test of the system's capabilities, but the software malfunctioned. The car veered off the road and collided with a barrier. Kai was killed on impact. The news shattered Maya. She felt as if the ground beneath her feet had given way, leaving her in free fall. In the days that followed, Tesla issued a statement expressing regret, but insisted the accident was an unforeseen error. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of the life lost. To Maya, it felt as if her son's death was just another line in a quarterly report. In her grief, Maya withdrew from the world. She left her job, sold her sketches to pay the bills, and spent months in solitude. It was only when she stumbled upon an old recipe book that she found a glimmer of solace. Cooking became her therapy, a way to channel her pain into creation. She started The Grove with a vision, to build a place where people mattered more than machines, where the soul of tradition could thrive in a city obsessed with the future. But Maya's resolve was tested daily. Tech executives frequented The Grove, often praising her old-school charm while flaunting their latest gadgets. Maya tolerated them with polite detachment, focusing on her craft. Yet, when Elon Musk walked through her doors, the wound she had tried so hard to heal was ripped open. For years, she had avoided news about Tesla, refusing to read about its successes or controversies. To her, Elon Musk wasn't just a name, he was the face of a world that had taken her son. Seeing him seated in her restaurant, flipping through her menu as if nothing had happened, ignited a storm of emotions she could barely contain. Grief, anger, and an overwhelming sense of injustice surged through her. "He doesn't belong here," Maya muttered to herself in the kitchen. She could feel the eyes of her staff on her, waiting for her decision. For them, this was a high-profile guest, a potential boon for the restaurant's reputation. For Maya, it was something else entirely, a moment she could no longer avoid. Her hands trembled as she gripped the counter, her mind flashing back to Kai's laughter, his determination, his dreams. She thought of the countless nights she had spent grieving, wondering if she could have done something, anything, to save him. And now, here was the man her son had idolized, sitting in her restaurant as if he were entitled to her time, her energy, her art. "No," she said aloud, her voice firm. "Not him." Victor stood frozen, struggling to decide how to respond to Elon Musk's calm yet piercing request. "May I speak with her?" In the kitchen, Maya was already aware of the unfolding situation. She could feel the tension seeping through the walls, carried by the whispers of her staff. Every second felt heavier, the weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. She knew her decision would not only define the night, but potentially the future of her restaurant. Victor returned, hesitant. "Chef," he said cautiously, "he's asking to speak with you." Maya exhaled sharply, wiping her hands on her apron. For a fleeting moment, she considered refusing again, standing firm in her decision, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the simmering anger she had kept buried for years, or the need to finally voice the pain she had locked away. She nodded curtly. "Fine, but not here, in my office." The staff exchanged wide-eyed glances as Maya left the kitchen, walking past the dining room without so much as a glance at Elon. Victor led him to her small office at the back of the restaurant, cluttered with cookbooks, sketches, and photos of Kai. Elon's tall frame seemed almost out of place in the cramped space. Maya entered, her posture rigid, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone sharp. Elon glanced around the room, his gaze landing on a framed photo of Kai holding a blueprint. His expression softened, though he said nothing about it. Instead, he met Maya's gaze. "I understand you're upset, but I'd like to know why you've refused to serve me." Her jaw tightened. "Why? You, of all people, should know why." He tilted his head, genuinely puzzled. "I'm afraid I don't." Maya felt a surge of frustration. How could he not remember? To him, her son was just another casualty, another statistic. She reached for the photo of Kai and thrust it toward him. "This is why. My son, Kai. He died in one of your cars, testing your autopilot software. He believed in you, in your vision, and you failed him." The room fell silent. For a moment, even Maya's heavy breathing seemed to fade. Elon's eyes lingered on the photo, his usually composed demeanor faltering. I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," Maya snapped. "Do you have any idea what it's like to lose a child because of a technical error? To watch the world praise you while I bury my son?" Elon didn't respond immediately. He set the photo down gently, his hands resting on the desk. "I know words can't undo what's happened, but I need you to understand. It wasn't just a technical error. Every failure like that stays with me. Every life lost is a weight I carry." Maya's anger didn't subside, but his words planted a seed of doubt. Could it be possible that Elon, the face of an empire she resented, also bore the burden of her loss? In the dining room, the tension was palpable. Guests whispered among themselves, speculating about the drama unfolding behind closed doors. The staff tiptoed around the kitchen, unsure whether to prepare Musk's meal or wait for Maya's signal. Back in the office, the silence between them was broken by Elon's voice, now softer. "I saw the notebooks on your shelf. Were they his?" Maya hesitated, glancing at the stack of engineering journals. Yes, he was always drawing, designing. He had ideas for everything. Elon picked up one of the notebooks, flipping through the pages. "These are remarkable. He was gifted." Maya's throat tightened. Hearing praise for Kai, even from Elon, was both comforting and painful. "He wanted to work for you," she admitted. "He thought you could change the world." Elon closed the notebook and looked at her. Maybe he was right, but change doesn't come without mistakes, without sacrifice. I wish those mistakes didn't cost lives. Maya didn't respond immediately. Her heart was a storm of emotions: grief, anger, guilt, and a faint flicker of understanding. She had spent years blaming Elon, but now she wondered if her hatred was misplaced. Kai had chosen his path, and the man before her, despite his power and influence, was still just a man. "Why didn't you ever reach out?" she finally asked, her voice quieter now. "Why didn't you acknowledge what happened?" Elon looked down, his expression unreadable. "I've made a lot of mistakes. Maybe that was one of them." The weight of his words lingered in the air. Maya's hands trembled as she placed the photo of Kai back on her desk. For the first time, she felt a crack in the wall she had built around her grief. "I'll think about cooking for you," she said, her voice firm but less cold. "But not because of who you are, only because it's what Kai would have wanted." The restaurant had never been so tense. Word of Maya's refusal and her subsequent meeting with Elon Musk had spread like wildfire through the grove. Diners whispered, speculating about the conversation happening behind the closed office door. Some were annoyed at the disruption to their evening, while others eagerly followed the unfolding drama. In the kitchen, Maya's sous chef, Luis, paced nervously. "This is bad," he muttered, "really bad. What if he leaves a bad review? Or worse, what if this goes public?" Maria, one of the pastry chefs, shook her head. "Maya's been through a lot. If she's making this call, we have to trust her." Luis scoffed. "Trust her? I trust her, but the restaurant? This is our livelihood. What if this ruins us?" Victor, ever the diplomat, intervened. "Let's focus on what we can control. We keep the kitchen running smoothly no matter what happens." Back in Maya's office, the air was thick with unresolved tension. Elon's calm demeanor had given way to something more subdued, his earlier confidence tempered by the weight of Maya's grief. He leaned back in the chair, his gaze fixed on the notebook stacked on her desk. "Your son was brilliant," he said after a long silence. "He saw potential in things most people overlook. That's rare." Maya's expression softened briefly before the anger resurfaced. "He was more than brilliant. He was kind, determined, and he died believing in something that failed him. Elon nodded, his eyes clouded. I know what it's like to lose someone. My first child, Nevada, passed away when he was an infant. It's a pain that never really leaves you. Maya's breath caught. She hadn't expected him to share something so personal. For a moment, her anger faltered, replaced by a flicker of empathy. How did you handle it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't, Elon admitted. Not at first. I buried myself in work, convinced that if I kept building, kept innovating, I could somehow outrun the grief. But it catches up with you. It always does. Maya looked away, her eyes settling on the photo of Kai. She had done the same, pouring herself into the grove to avoid confronting the full weight of her loss. But tonight, with Elon sitting across from her, the carefully constructed walls she had built were starting to crumble. Before she could respond, a knock on the office door interrupted them. It was Victor. Chef, I hate to interrupt, but the guests are getting restless. Some are asking if we're closing early. Maya glanced at Elon, who gave her a small nod. I'll step out, he said, standing. Take care of your restaurant, but if you're willing, I'd like to continue this conversation. As Elon walked back to the dining room, the staff and diners watched him closely. He returned to his table, resuming his quiet composure, but the atmosphere remained charged. Maya followed shortly after, stepping into the kitchen to address her staff. We're not closing, she said firmly. Keep the orders coming. I'll handle the rest. Her team nodded, though the tension lingered. Maya glanced toward the dining room where Elon sat, seemingly unbothered by the whispers around him. For a moment, she considered walking away, letting the night play out without confronting the emotions brewing inside her. But a memory of Kai stopped her, the way he had always faced challenges head-on, refusing to back down. Taking a deep breath, she returned to her office and retrieved one of Kai's notebooks. Flipping through its pages, she found a sketch labeled Sustainable Kitchen Systems. It was a design Kai had been particularly proud of, a vision for how traditional kitchens could adapt to modern challenges without losing their soul. She clutched the notebook tightly, an idea forming in her mind. If Kai had believed in Elon's vision, perhaps there was a way to honor that belief without compromising her values. Emerging from the kitchen, she approached Elon's table. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to them. Maya placed the notebook on the table, her expression unreadable. You said you carry the weight of every mistake, she said quietly. Prove it. Elon looked at the notebook, his brow furrowing as he studied Kai's meticulous designs. What is this? He asked. It's what Kai was working on before. Her voice faltered, but she pushed through. Before the accident, he wanted to make kitchens more sustainable, to bridge the gap between tradition and innovation. It was his dream. Elon's gaze shifted from the notebook to Maya. And you want me to help make it a reality? Maya hesitated before nodding. If you're serious about carrying that weight, then yes, help me bring his vision to life. The room remained silent as the weight of her words sank in. Elon's expression hardened, not with defiance, but with determination. I will, he said simply. The declaration sent a ripple through the restaurant. For the first time that evening, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a quiet sense of possibility. Maya returned to the kitchen, her heart still heavy, but buoyed by a newfound sense of purpose. This wasn't the resolution she had planned, but perhaps it was the one she and Kai needed. The following days at the Grove were anything but normal. News of the confrontation between Maya Santos and Elon Musk had spread beyond the restaurant walls. Food bloggers, local journalists, and even national media outlets picked up the story. Opinions were sharply divided. Some hailed Maya as a champion of tradition and integrity, while others criticized her for disrespecting a figure like Elon. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere remained tense. The staff whispered among themselves, wondering what the collaboration with Elon would mean for their future. Luis, the sous chef, wasn't shy about voicing his concerns. "This is a mistake," he muttered to Maria as they prepped for the dinner service. "She's risking everything we've built by letting him in." Maria frowned but didn't respond immediately. She had always admired Maya's resilience, but even she couldn't ignore the growing unease. "Maybe," she finally said, "but Maya's never made a decision lightly. We have to trust her." In her office, Maya stared at Kai's notebook, her thoughts a whirlwind of doubt and determination. Agreeing to work with Elon had felt like the right choice in the moment, but now the reality of the decision was sinking in. Could she truly trust the man she had blamed for so long? Was this collaboration a betrayal of Kai's memory, or a way to honor his vision? Her train of thought was interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Victor, holding a tablet with an email from a journalist requesting an interview. "It's the 5th one today," he said. "People are calling you a hero, a trailblazer." Maya shook her head. "I'm no hero. I just want to do right by my son." Victor hesitated before speaking. "And Elon? Do you trust him?" Maya didn't answer right away. Instead, she picked up Kai's notebook and flipped to the page where he had sketched a prototype for a sustainable kitchen appliance. "I trust this," she said softly. "His ideas, his dreams. If Elon can help bring them to life, maybe it's worth the risk." Meanwhile, Elon was facing challenges of his own. The story had reached the tech world, and not everyone was supportive of his decision to collaborate with Maya. Critics accused him of trying to rehabilitate his image, while others questioned the practicality of Kai's designs. Sitting in his office late one night, Elon examined Kai's sketches. They were ambitious, no doubt, but they also had potential. He reached for his phone and dialed a trusted engineer. "I need you to look at something," he said. "It's important." The next morning, Elon arrived at the Grove with a small team of engineers. Maya greeted them with a guarded expression, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "This is my kitchen," she said firmly. "If we're doing this, we do it my way." Elon nodded. "Of course. We're here to help, not to take over." The collaboration began with tension simmering just beneath the surface. Maya was fiercely protective of her kitchen and her team, while Elon's engineers struggled to adapt to the restaurant's traditional methods. Every decision felt like a battle, each side reluctant to compromise. One afternoon, as they tested a prototype for a sustainable cooking appliance based on Kai's designs, a malfunction caused a small fire in the kitchen. Luis, already skeptical of the collaboration, exploded. "I told you this was a bad idea," he shouted, throwing down his apron. "This isn't what we signed up for." The room fell silent as Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I understand your frustration, Luis, but this is bigger than us. It's about honoring Kai's vision. If you can't see that, I won't force you to stay." Luis hesitated, his anger giving way to guilt. "I just don't want to see this place fail," he said quietly. "Neither do I," Maya replied, "but sometimes taking risks is the only way to grow." The incident marked a turning point. Maya and Elon began working more closely, finding a rhythm despite their differences. Elon shared stories of his own failures and the lessons he had learned, while Maya opened up about her journey as a single mother and the pain of losing Kai. The collaboration wasn't without its setbacks. Prototypes failed, arguments flared, and the pressure of public scrutiny weighed heavily on everyone involved. But amidst the chaos, a sense of purpose began to emerge. One evening, as the staff gathered to test a new dish cooked using one of Kai's sustainable designs, Maya looked around the room. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope. This wasn't just about her or Elon. It was about creating something meaningful, something Kai would have been proud of. "I think we're onto something," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. Elon, standing across the room, caught her words and nodded. "I think so too." It was a quiet evening at the Grove, the kind that usually brought Maya peace. But tonight was different. The dining room had been cleared, transformed into a private space for a presentation, a culmination of months of work. The staff stood to one side, watching with nervous anticipation as Maya and Elon prepared to unveil the prototype that had brought them together. In the kitchen, the device stood at the center of the room. Kai's sustainable kitchen system, brought to life. It wasn't just a machine, it was a testament to innovation and tradition, blending cutting-edge technology with the craftsmanship Maya had spent her life perfecting. Designed to reduce energy consumption while maintaining the integrity of traditional cooking techniques, it was everything Kai had envisioned. Maya ran her fingers over the sleek surface of the device, her heart pounding. This moment wasn't just about the machine. It was about Kai, about honoring his dreams and proving that his life had meant something. Elon stepped forward, his usual confidence tempered by the weight of the moment. "Ready?" he asked softly. Maya nodded, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. "Let's do it." The test began. Maya and her team worked seamlessly, preparing a signature dish using the new system. The room was silent except for the hum of the machine and the gentle clatter of utensils. Maya moved with precision, every motion infused with purpose. As the dish neared completion, the tension in the room was palpable. Then, the moment of truth arrived. Maya plated the dish, her hands steady despite the weight of the moment. She placed it on the counter, stepped back, and looked at Elon. "Your turn," she said, her voice firm but tinged with vulnerability. Elon approached the counter, took a forkful of the dish, and tasted it. His expression softened, and for a moment he said nothing. Then he turned to Maya, his voice quiet but filled with conviction. "It's perfect." The room erupted in applause, the staff cheering as months of hard work and tension gave way to relief and celebration. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but she held them back, letting the moment sink in. She glanced at the device, then at the photo of Kai she had brought into the room. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling. Elon stepped beside her, his gaze also fixed on the photo. "He would have been proud," he said, "of both of us." Maya turned to him, her expression softening. For the first time, she allowed herself to see him not as the man she had blamed, but as someone who had faced his own struggles, who had chosen to carry the weight of his mistakes. "Maybe," she said quietly, "but I'm starting to think this isn't just about him. It's about what comes next." Elon nodded. "And what comes next is up to us." As the celebration continued, Maya felt a sense of closure she hadn't thought possible. This wasn't the end of her journey. It was a new beginning, one that honored Kai's memory while forging a path forward. She looked around the room at her staff, her team, her family. For the first time in years, she felt hope. 1 year later, the Grove was unrecognizable, not in its appearance but in its purpose. The restaurant still exuded the same warmth and charm, its walls adorned with the hand-painted murals that had become its signature. But now it housed something extraordinary: Kai's Innovation Lab. The lab was more than just a tribute to Kai's memory. It was a living, breathing extension of his dreams. Chefs, engineers, and students worked side by side, experimenting with sustainable kitchen technologies that honored tradition while embracing the future. The hum of collaboration filled the air, a symphony of ideas blending seamlessly. Maya stood in the dining room, watching as a group of students demonstrated a new prototype to visiting chefs. Her heart swelled with pride. This wasn't just her restaurant anymore. It was a community, a place where innovation and tradition coexisted. Elon had kept his promise. With his resources and connections, he had helped turn Kai's sketches into reality. But he didn't just fund the project. He became an active participant, visiting the lab regularly and mentoring the students. His presence was no longer a source of tension but a reminder of what could be achieved through collaboration. As Maya walked through the restaurant, she paused at a small display near the entrance. It featured Kai's photo, his notebooks, and a plaque that read, "In memory of Kai Santos, a dreamer, an innovator, and the heart of this journey." A familiar voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Still watching over him, huh?" Maya turned to see Elon holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to her, his expression warm. Some things never change, she said with a smile, taking the cup. They walked together through the restaurant, the hum of activity surrounding them. You've done something incredible here, Elon said. Kai would be proud. Maya nodded, her gaze distant but peaceful. It's funny, she said after a moment. For so long, I thought I was doing this for him, but now I realize it's for all of us, for the people who believe in something bigger than themselves. Elon's smile softened. That's what innovation is all about, not just creating something new, but creating something that lasts. They reached the kitchen where the staff was preparing for the evening service. Maya watched them work, her heart filled with gratitude. For the first time in years, she felt whole. As the first diners arrived, Maya took her place in the kitchen, slipping seamlessly into her role. The night unfolded like any other, but this time it carried a sense of purpose that went beyond the food. Every dish served, every conversation shared was a tribute to the journey that had brought them here. Maya glanced at the photo of Kai that hung in her office. "We did it," she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. "We really did."